Hi guys, welcome to the weekly Fearless Energy update for January 10th to January 16th. So last week was kind of a preview to what's going to be going on in the cosmos for the next couple of weeks. Actually, this week is going to be really busy. Busy in the stars in the sky. Next week is also going to be really busy. And the following week is also going to be really busy. We have some things coming up. So let's just get started on it. Before I forget, if you have not signed up for the Manifesting 101 workshop, the next one that we're doing is on January 30th. And it's going to teach you how to genuinely just feel better. And I guarantee you after this January, everybody's going to want to feel better. So if you're interested in learning how to feel better so that you can manifest the life that you desire and the one that you want to live in, come join us on January 30th. It's amazing. We've already done the workshop a couple of times and a lot of everybody has good things to say about it. So I hope to see you there. So Sunday the 10th, let's just get into it. Sunday the 10th. So we're still under that energy of the Mercury conjunct Saturn. So all weekend, really on Saturday and Sunday, Saturday the 9th and the 10th, are going to be a really good time to focus on the task at hand. With a Mercury conjunct Saturn, anything that's done with effort, anything that's done with time and with effort will have a long-lasting effect. Be very careful. There's a lot of stuff going on with Mercury this week and a lot of stuff that's going on with Saturn this week. So be very careful about the things that you're saying. Be very careful about the things that you are doing, how you're reacting. A lot of karmic activity is happening. This is going to be kind of one of those healing of the really deep wounds, paying attention to how we've been doing, how we need to do things differently, how we need to pivot, because Saturn's going to be restricting us from a lot of stuff that we would normally be able to do. Plus we have a really big kind of spiritual awakening aspect that's happening too. So there's a lot of insight and a lot of aha moments this week if you can use the energy to your benefit and not just sit here and be like, oh my God, I can't believe the universe is just a big asshole. Like if you're going to sit there and think the universe is a big asshole, then of course it's going to be a big asshole, right? The funny thing is as I was preparing for this week, I was already starting to get the anxiety of what was coming up. And then I had somebody remind me that when we project, right, we look into the future and we project that anxiety onto ourselves, that's the anxiety that we're going to get. So really pay attention to where you're focusing your energy. And if you can allow yourself to really stand firm in your truth and really allow yourself to focus on the tasks at hand and take accountability for your actions and reactions. This week it'll be heavy, but it won't be as bad as it possibly could be. So we're still under that Mercury conjunct Saturn, and that can bring a lot of karmic activity. The moon is in Sagittarius on Sunday. The moon's going to be squaring Neptune, and it's going to be joining the South Node. So it'll be conjunct the South Node and squaring Neptune. And that's really an aspect of don't believe everything you can hear. We talked about a couple of months ago about how Neptune is inching its way closer to squaring the nodes, the lunar nodes, the North Node and the South Node. And so the illusion around what we're supposed to be doing right now, or the illusion, everything is sort of has a veil over it. It feels like there's kind of a thin film over everything because we're not necessarily sure if this is real. If everything feels a little bit unreal right now, what's actually happening in my life. So the more you allow yourself to reset your energy, don't fall into past patterns. This week, don't fall back into the old ways that you've been doing things. This can be one of those things where you start really bad habits again with that Sagittarius moon conjunct the South Node. You can start bad habits again because the South Node is our past, right? North Node is what we're supposed to be doing in the present moment now and learning, right? And then the South Node is the stuff that we had to do in the past. So we have to relearn and reshift patterns and do cycles differently from that. Monday on the 11th, The moon is going to be in Capricorn, trining Mars and Uranus, and squaring Chiron and conjunct Venus. So the moon in Capricorn is going to be really, really busy on Monday. We also have Mercury sextile Chiron, and we also have Mercury conjunct Jupiter. So a Mercury sextile in Chiron, that can be a really difficult, like a sextile is a positive aspect when two planets are working well with each other. But when it's the wounded healer and it's working with Mercury, which teaches us lessons and stuff, Mercury is about communication, short distance travel, stuff like that. Mercury can with Chiron, sextiling Chiron can be where it's a little bit more difficult to communicate, where we don't necessarily have our thoughts in order. But then we have Mercury conjunct Jupiter, which is a very optimistic aspect. So there's really like, where are your values? Where are you allowing yourself to communicate effectively? Mercury conjunct Jupiter can make you feel like anything is possible, and Mercury sextile Chiron can make you feel like you can't push forward, you can't do things, that you feel like you're held back in some way. So there could be this push-pull that's happening on Monday, where we really feel amazing about the direction that we're going in, but there's probably that one little trigger or that one wound that we need to pay attention to so we don't hold ourselves back anymore. That Chiron wound, the one that we're all born with, the one that we feel at the deepest parts of us. Mercury is really shining a light on that for us on Monday. And so really paying attention to how you're taking accountability for healing yourself and for being a little bit more open. Don't lose ground. Don't lose your truth within other people's truths. If you need to, actually Mercury conjunct Jupiter would actually be a really good time to start writing a book, or writing your feelings down in some way, even if it's a vlog, like do a video blog, like, something like this, like get your feelings out and allow yourself to be expansive and be open. That's what Jupiter is. Jupiter is expansive and open. If you feel like you can't necessarily get your feelings out to other people, write it down on a piece of paper, see if there's another way to do it. But you're going to be very supported to pay attention to what it is that you need to heal and how that's going to help you catalyze yourself to moving forward. And the moon in Capricorn is like that structure, right? It's that strict structure that we all sort of need sometimes, but are you allowing yourself to be expansive within that structured lifestyle, or are you just living within a box and restricting yourself in a lot of ways? So then we go to Tuesday, where we actually have the new moon in Capricorn happening at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. So for those of you on the other side of the world or across the pond, this will be happening early mornings on Wednesday the 13th. In the States here, it's happening late night on Tuesday. So we have the new moon in Capricorn. We have Mercury squaring Uranus that day. We have Jupiter sextiling Chiron that day. And Jupiter sextiling Chiron for a couple of days is actually going to be happening. It'll be expanding from the 12th probably to the 13th or 14th. For several days, because we're also in that 2-degree orb, right? So we're going to be in a 2-degree orb with that kind of sextiling Chiron. And when I say 2-degree orb, a conjunction, an exact conjunction is when both planets are at the same sign, right? Or if it's even a sextile or the same degree and the same second. So it's not just the degree, but it's the seconds as well. So we're going to have this energy over us, and that's where that Mercury sextiling Chiron and Mercury conjunct Jupiter is shifting over to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and throughout the week, with Jupiter sextiling Chiron as well. So both of those planets are going to be really expanding the healing process. This is what I mean by that spiritual awakening, because Jupiter is also going to be squaring Uranus, which is a really big awakening and expansion as well. So a lot of big healing energy for this week. So Mercury squaring Uranus. Let's just get into each aspect and see what we come up with. Mercury squaring Uranus. You could really be easily agitated with Mercury squaring Uranus. A lot of insightful information, a lot of aha moments, and you may even be like, oh wow, this is like, I didn't even really think about that. Like you could yourself have insights, or somebody could actually say something to you that's really, really insightful. This is sort of like creative genius energy too. Just be very careful with where you're placing that creative genius energy. Agitation, projection, angry. Like I would not be surprised if we didn't see another mob scene happen next week, to be quite honest, in the collective. I mean, I hate to say that, but with the way things are going right now and how angry everybody is and how the energy is not slowing down anytime soon, I would not be surprised if we saw some really big things happen within the next couple of weeks, leading up to the inauguration of President-elect Biden. So this is going to be a really big spiritual and a big healing and spiritual week, with the Jupiter sextile Chiron too. And it's not even about trying to appease or satisfy other people at this point. This is about like, are you focusing on your journey? Are you focusing on your goals? Or are you really paying attention to what the world is telling you to pay attention to, right? Because this kind of energy, it can suck us into whatever's happening in the matrix, whatever's happening in the 3D, whatever is happening in the matrix. And it's not that I'm trying to spiritually bypass what's happening in the matrix, but honestly, we're all getting to a point to where it's become a little bit ridiculous. And if you guys out there want to destroy your lives by doing really stupid things, that's fine and dandy. I'm going to sit over here and focus on my goals and focus on what I'm doing, because I don't want to have anything about that. So sees the difference between spiritual bypassing and just being like, whatever, I'm just going to float off into the 5th dimension and I'm not even going to pay attention to the 3rd dimension, or looking at the way the 3rd dimension is actually acting and being like, I don't want to be a part of that, and moving on, right? So there's the biggest difference is, you know, if you want to succeed, don't do that. Don't fall back into the ways that the world is telling you to fall back into. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to be mad. You can really like pivot your direction in any way instead of focusing on what's happening out there. Wednesday, the 13th, we have a really big day on Wednesday. There's a lot going on. We have Venus trining Uranus. This is going to be big changes in love, money, and values. Venus in Capricorn trining Uranus in Taurus. It's really hard to break free when you are in such a structured kind of energy. Uranus has been shaking up Taurus for the last couple of years. Venus being in Capricorn really likes the value of material things, really likes the money stuff. Venus trining Uranus. If you change up the way that you are doing business, or you change up the way that you see money, or you change up the way that you see your own values, you know, I've said it before, I guarantee you your values are 180 degrees, 100% different than they were in the beginning of 2020. Everything has changed and everything has shifted. And Capricorn wants you to have big money gains. Venus in Capricorn wants you to have big money gains, and Uranus in Taurus doesn't want you to do things conventionally. But now we're having that energy coming together. So if you change up the way that you're doing things and you become patient and you start planting those seeds, like I want to look at this different, or I want to look this different. Like I started shifting my schedule and changing things in a big way, you know, just a couple of weeks ago. And it's for the long term, right? In the short term, it might be a little anxiety ridden. It might be a little bit stressful, but this is for Venus and Capricorn long-term gains, right? So that's going to be happening. We have the moon in Aquarius, moon shifting from Capricorn into Aquarius about the midday mark. The moon in Aquarius is going to be conjuncting Saturn in Aquarius, but Saturn in Aquarius is going to be squaring Mars in Taurus. So Venus in Capricorn, trining Uranus in Taurus, Saturn in Aquarius squaring Mars in Taurus. So anybody that has lots of Taurus energy right now is going to be feeling all of these effects. And really anybody with fixed energy, Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, or Taurus, any of those fixed energies are going to be feeling this the most. That doesn't, again, I'm going to say this to you guys again, you don't have to go in this week thinking that it's going to be a negative week. You can go into this week thinking, okay, because fixed energy doesn't like to change. Fixed energy doesn't like to transition very easily. And maybe if you do like to change and you do like to transition easily, you like to do it on your own. You like to shift on your own. My youngest son is a Leo sun, a Aquarius rising, and a Scorpio moon. He has 10 fixed placements in his, like, I'm not even kidding you. The kid is, and maybe not 10, I think maybe like 8 placements that are fixed, but he is fixed on top of fixed on top of fixed. And it's not that he doesn't, he will change and he will shift, but man, it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of coaching and like, maybe if we do it this way, and he doesn't do it very easily. So this energy is asking you guys, you fixed energies, to move in different ways so that you can benefit yourself in the future. And because when we're just staying in one place all the time and we're not shifting ourselves and we're not changing our energy, it's hard to go, you know, it's hard to pivot. It's hard to like look at things in different ways. It's hard to see the bigger picture. When you're really just focused and you're tunnel visioned, it's hard to see the bigger picture. So all this stuff that's happening in Aquarius, that's squaring all of this stuff in Taurus, is asking for you guys to change and for you to broaden your horizons and not be so restrictive in your energy. This Mars squaring Saturn is a power play move. This is anybody who wants to create more karmic activity for themselves. They absolutely can. Mars is the fighter. He's the warrior. He's the action-oriented, like, I'm going to go do it. Saturn is restrictive. Saturn is saying, no, 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 calm down. We don't need to move this fast. We don't need to do things this much. We need to really be able to have a plan, and we need to put everything out exactly the way that it's supposed to be. And you need to do things this way, and you can't do things this way. And so it's really restrictive, and Mars doesn't necessarily like that. So be very, very careful with driving. Be very, very careful with anybody who wants to argue with you. Do not argue with anybody on Wednesday. Don't argue with anybody all week. And really, if we're getting into it, don't argue with anybody ever, because that's a waste of energy. Arguing with people never solves anything, but that's a conversation for another day. This whole feeling like you want to get things accomplished, but also not really having the energy, or you keep on getting blocked and you keep on getting restricted from doing things. This is probably not a week for you to start new, like really big new projects. This is probably not a week that's going to help you push forward in a lot of ways. So allowing yourself to stay in the present moment and allowing yourself to say, okay, this is all I can do for now. And again, stay in your lane. Like, don't argue with people just for the sake of arguing with people. If you're trying to prove a point, it's going to be lost. That point will always be lost with people this week. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. The moon is also conjunct Jupiter this on Wednesday, and it's going to be squaring Uranus. So people are just going to be really emotional, and it's going to be really hard to get your point across to anybody that's not already like in the same kind of mindset. And it's not that I don't want you to try, like, this isn't about trying to change other people's minds. This is about being the example. This is about showing how you're living in your life, and you're focusing on your journey, and you're being the example for other people. You don't have to explain that to people. Just live your life the way that you're supposed to live it, and be the example, and let other people see that. And if they can't see that, that's not your problem. That's not something that you need to try and, force people to see or argue the point with them. Thursday, and that's like an overall rule, I think, for life, but this week for sure, like, don't try and argue the point. Thursday's a really busy week as well. Oh, Mercury is also going to be squaring Lilith on Wednesday, and anything that has to do with Lilith, there's going to be that feminine energy kind of like rising to the surface. And the feminine energy right now, the divine feminine energy right now is really, really strong. And, you know, women want to have a voice, right? Women want to have a voice, and they don't want to constantly be cut off from having that voice. So that, like, if you know, if you're sitting in your feminine energy and you're really feeling like you like, women may want to argue on Wednesday, and it's like, don't argue. Don't waste your time and energy and argue. Okay, so Thursday, the 14th, the moon is going to be in Aquarius, joining Mercury. This is going to be really good emotional insight. I love it when the moon in Aquarius has an aspect to Mercury, because I always feel like I can think a little bit clearer. Uranus is going to be direct in Taurus. Finally, Uranus is going to be direct in Taurus. And when Uranus is direct, there's more of a freedom-seeking kind of feeling. That's really an overall, because Uranus is an outside planet and it moves a little bit slower, this is more of a collective energy. Like, the collective wants to feel free again. The collective doesn't want to feel like it's restricted in its ways and the ways that it's doing things. Mars and Saturn we're still under that Mars-Saturn square. That's going to be for a couple of days. And the sun is going to be conjunct on Pluto. So some more power play energies. And honestly, having the sun conjunct Pluto, it can go one of two ways. It really depends on where you are in your journey and how grounded of a person you are, just in general, not necessarily just on Thursday, but how grounded are you in your life in general, and what are you focusing on? If you're focusing on how everything is going wrong, if you're focusing on nothing is ever right, I'm losing everything just sucks, everything's falling to pieces, if that's your focus, it's going to be really, really difficult for you to get through this week. But if your focus is more on the healing aspect, all of the healing stuff is going to be on the surface level, right? And we are never done healing, y'all. Healing is something that's going to happen for you until the day that you transition to the other side, right? So look, if you're at a point in your healing process and you're like, yes, I'm done healing, everything's got it, and then something comes up and triggers you and you're like, oh, damn, I thought that wound was gone. The sun conjunct Pluto is going to be that thing that's really going to dig very, very deep down into the recesses of our wounds and be like, remember this one? Remember this wound from when you were 5 years old? And it's going to show you more of how you can heal. And the reason why the universe does this to us is so that we can be better versions of ourselves every day, right? So we can level up and be a better version. And that's what this week is really all about, is how are you being a better version of yourself, and you're not getting lost in all the bullshit, right? And you're not getting lost in all the chaos. How are you being a better version for yourself? So all of the healing being brought to the surface. Depending on your personal journey, this could be a day really full of power struggles, or it can be a day of personal empowerment. So really depending on how you personally look at your life, this transit, and how everything is shifting and shaping. It's really funny. People are going to see in a big way how their life doesn't work and what they're doing right in their life this week. And for those people that are really, really playing out their egos right now and really living in their egos, they may not be able to admit how they're doing things wrong. You know what I mean? They may not be able to admit or be able to see it unless somebody cuts them off or unless somebody triggers a wound inside of them. Some people are really, really waking up to the fact that they can no longer live life the way that they've been living, and they have to pivot and they have to change because there's nothing else that they can do. They're sort of at that crossroads, right? So then we shift over to Friday on the 15th. The moon is in Aquarius, shifting to Pisces in the afternoon. The Pisces moon is going to be sextiling Mars and Uranus in Taurus. Also, Yeah. So, and then we're coming up into a Jupiter square with Uranus. There will be an exact Jupiter square with Uranus on Sunday, the 17th, but we start to really feel it at the beginning of the weekend next week. So starting on Friday, and really there's like this leading up, and that's sort of like an overlying, the Jupiter squaring Uranus is like an overlying energy for this week, because this is going to be that spiritual enlightenment kind of aspect. There's it's going to be exact on the 17th, and we're going to feel it for 3 to 5 days, maybe even a little bit longer, a couple of weeks even, but a lot of sudden spiritual insight. This is expansion. Jupiter is expansion. Uranus is innovation and change, abrupt changes, jolts of insight, and Jupiter is just expanding that energy in a square, right? And a square, remember, a square is a harsh aspect. It's a 90 degree, it's a harsh aspect. So when we have that kind of square and it's so funny, when I was looking at the chart, like everything is just on one side of the chart. Like all week long, everything is just on one side of the chart, and it's just like pressure on top of pressure on top of pressure on top of pressure. And so a lot of people could be going through the dark night of the soul right now. A lot of people could be waking up and going through their spiritual awakening right now. A lot of people are recognizing how they have done things in the past and how they can't do things in the past anymore. That this is a much bigger acceptance of the journey. And on the 15th, we start the Mercury retrograde shadow period. And Mercury goes retrograde on the 30th. So, and I always find the Mercury retrograde shadow periods, the pre-shadow and the post-shadow periods, those are the times that I feel the retrograde more. But for the next 2 weeks, from the 15th on, really pay attention to the lessons that you're learning, to the things that are happening, because when Mercury goes retrograde on the 30th, those are all the things that you're going to have to redo. We're going to come back all the way back to where Mercury was at this point on the 15th, and then move forward again. So everything that's going on from the 15th to the 30th will have to be re-looked at, will have to be redone. So if there are any karmic things that happen from the 15th on for you, if there are any lessons that you're learning from the 15th on for you, those are going to be re-seen a couple of times, okay? So, because it'll go Mercury, it's the path. It's really interesting how that path is going to go too, because Mercury is going to be an extremely busy guy for the next month and a half, basically. And then we have the moon is still on Pisces on Saturday, and we're still feeling that Jupiter and Uranus square. That's going to be a thing all weekend, but that moon in Pisces on Saturday is going to meet up with Neptune, and it will be a day. I feel like Saturday and Sunday next weekend are really going to be days for us to just flow. Like there comes a time in all of this energy in the cosmos and everything that's happening in our lives. There comes a time when we really just have to look at everything and be like, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do but just sit here and wait, and just wait it out and feel it out. We don't constantly have to be trying to fix things through the energy, force things through the energy, shifting through the energy, pivoting through the energy. Sometimes we just have to sit still. Sometimes we just have to journal. Sometimes we just have to feel the feelings and allow ourselves to get it out and process things. And I think this week's going to be a lot of, because there's so much happening, this week is going to be a lot of, you can actually lose your mind this week if you really, really want to, or you can choose to focus on the present moment. You can choose to focus on the things that you have to take care of right now. You can choose to allow yourself to see how this energy is shifting the collective energy, how this energy is kind of turning everything upside down. For me, it's so funny because it's almost like I'm watching a movie. It's almost like I see everything happening in the third dimension. I see everything that happened with the capital. I see everything that's happened with all of it, right? I've seen all of it, and with COVID and with the vaccine and like all of the things, right? I see it from a perspective where I'm literally watching it on a movie screen. And I can choose to play into it. I can choose to react to what's happening on the movie screen, or I can choose to realize that I'm sitting in this chair right now and my reality is right here. Does that stuff affect me in some way, shape, or form? Sure. I mean, I chose to be human, right? I chose to live this life. I chose to go through all of this. I chose this path, right? So yeah, but do I allow it to change my whole lifestyle? Do I allow it to mess with my emotions? Do I allow myself to get into arguments about it? Do I change my own life based on other people's choices? Mm-mm. And that, I feel like that's kind of, if you look at the situation and you detach yourself, you see how that energy that's going on out in the world, yes, it may affect you on some level in some way, but you don't have to give power to it. And I think that's the biggest thing to remember this week. You don't have to give power to what the cosmos are doing. You don't have to give power to what the TV is showing you or what social media is showing you. You don't have to give power to any of that. And I think that there's going to be a lot of insight and the feeling of the insight. There are going to be some days that are really, really hard to get through. You'll probably literally feel like your feet are cemented in when Mars squares Saturn. You'll feel like you've got, cement blocks on your feet and you can't really move anywhere. That is a clear indication that the universe is saying you don't need to move anywhere. You can stay right exactly where you are. You can ride out all of the energies that are going on. You can allow yourself to say, I don't need this to affect me. I don't need to project my emotions onto anything. I don't need to have that projected its emotions onto me. You can make the choice. And I think that that's probably the biggest message out of this week. Is there a lot going on? Absolutely. Do you need to play into it? No. Still nice to know, but you don't need to play into it. The new moon in Capricorn, I do want to talk about this really quick. The new moon in Capricorn, there are some people that are talking about, because there's so much malefic stuff that's happening this week, do we manifest with this new moon? Because usually with new moons, we like to bring new stuff in. We like to manifest with it. And if we really look at that day on Tuesday, let me go back to my notes. If we really look at that day for Tuesday for manifesting with the new moon, with Mercury squaring Uranus and Jupiter sextiling Chiron, I would actually, and this is what I'm going to do in my memberships. If you guys haven't had a chance to join the memberships, we do new moon and full moon rituals, and we also do group distance Reiki sessions every other week when we're not doing the new moon rituals or the full moon rituals. We do group distance Reiki, which is pretty cool. But Mercury squaring Uranus, Jupiter sextiling Chiron, and having that Jupiter-Uranus square over us all week and that Mars-Saturn square over us all week, I would, and this is what I'm going to do with my memberships, is we're going to do a ritual where we are releasing things so that we can be open for new stuff to come in. And it's not necessarily, so I'm not necessarily saying don't manifest, but if you're going to manifest, make sure that you're manifesting things for your best and highest good. Like, I don't want you to manifest a relationship this week. Don't manifest an old flame coming back in during Mercury pre-shadow period. Don't do that to yourself. And don't if you want to manifest a new job that's going to be something that's going to be for your best and highest good. This could actually be a really, really good week for people to have some long-term goals and start working on some long-term goals. But you really have to know your energy and know your mind and know the place that you're in, because you can easily manifest some karmic lessons into your life this week if you wanted to. So pay attention, release things for your best and highest good, manifest for your best and highest good. And that's what I'm going to say about the new moon in Capricorn. And that's what we'll be doing. We are going to be doing a ritual, you know, but it's not going to be specific to manifesting. Okay. And if you would like to join us for that, you can click the join button below. It's in the top tier membership level, or you can go to Patreon and join there. Either way, you'll get the same access. All right, you guys, I love you. Please, please stay in your truth this week. Remember that nobody else has the power over you and your emotions. Only you have the power over you and your emotions. Take really, really good care of yourself, and for the love of God, stay safe. Because this week is going to be a little bit crazy and everybody's going to be losing their mind. So stay safe. I love you all. And I'll see you soon. Bye.